Okay. So this recording is for all the men out there, like me. You've heard this before. Can you just plan the date? Can you just take the role, execute, and the wife is like, just, I want to have a fun time, but I don't want to plan it. I don't want to be the one who organizes, calls the Uber, and prepares everything, and then you and I enjoy it. Even my birthday. Now, I have heard this almost every year of our marriage, if I'm being honest. And if you're a man out there that you're married, you probably have heard this where your wife is like, why don't you treat me? So instead of trying to figure this out myself, and instead of trying to tell you I cracked the code, I want to put Latifat on the spot to help me. And the reason why we want to do this, and it's a fun light thing we're doing, I just want to ask her, how do you go about planning a date? Like, okay, for example, you're like, okay, my husband's birthday is coming, maybe it's the big 40, or he's graduating, whatever. I want to treat him nice. Can you counsel a poor man like me, how do I plan a date or a good time with my spouse?
So here's what I'm going to say. I don't think that this is a case of many men don't know how to, because before y'all like got married, y'all were like all being romantic and stuff.
That's true. Okay.
Right?
That's true.
Before you got married, there were things you did to impress her. And I think there's a part of many of our brains, and again, everybody likes comfort, right? Where it's like, well, I've parked my car. And suddenly you're like, well, I don't know the things that she's going to want. And when I do it, she's going to complain that it's not. But it's like, before you got married, though, you had her on her toes.
True.
So pretend. And this is one thing that I ask people, not because I'm perfect at this, but if you guys treated yourself this way before you got married, would you have ended up getting married? And many times the answer is no.
No. Yeah, that's true.
You checked on each other. You asked how each other were doing. Yes, things are happening. Kids are there, work and all that. But if you were not married, okay, this is actually a great example. There was a book we read, and the guy was talking about how he was counseling a guy at his church had gotten divorced or was, got divorced and now was eventually going back into the dating world and started taking care of himself.
He went to the gym.
He was like dressing up. And it's like, maybe if you did all of those with your wife, you would not be divorced. Not that like going to the gym was going to fix everything, but there's something about when you move a part of your life, you're more likely to move other parts of your life. So if you're working out, you're more likely to grow in other areas, right? And so that's the very first question, because sometimes we think the answer is somewhere that we haven't yet encountered. But it's really a matter of like taking a slow deep breath and saying, if I was not married, because if you were not in this marriage and you were dating someone, there are certain things you would do. So literally date your wife. Date your wife. Pretend you were not married. Pretend there were no kids. What would you have done? Do that again. And yes, there may be some resistance because, there's a lot she may be thinking about, but date each other. I think when we think about it that way, it makes you realize that you can lean into your own wisdom from the past, right? What were the things that you did? Maybe before you got married, you would ask her girlfriends, you would ask her siblings and say, I want to surprise her. Do that now. Again, I think sometimes we just get so used to each other that we start to make it stale. Not because time causes staleness, but because our making it stale is what makes it seem like it's time that's causing staleness, and it's not. So that would be the very first thing.
Okay.
I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and though we started with fun, but I think it is a serious thing to consider that, I did date you before we got married, and so I'm not coming into this like I've never done this before.
You've done this before.
I've
We
done this
have
before.
both
So
done this
that's
before.
the light bulb switch.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you mentioned something about us. We talked about well, the book we read, Jimmy Evans, how this particular story, this guy actually he went back to the gym. He was gymming, looked good, dressed up, and I want you to speak to that as well. I think, and speak to both of them. Like, okay, it's one thing to get married. Again, culturally,
Whose culture?
culturally in Nigeria, and this is not all throughout Nigeria, in my tribe, and not all people in my tribe, the men would sometimes celebrate pot bellies.
Yeah.
I'm speaking to the gym or the being fit, the exercise piece. So, and I kind of assume that oh, when you get married, it's all right. You know, you get fed. You know, the belly is big. You slap it. You're happy. So, and you can take it whichever way, light or serious. How does Jim, like your husband, looking, doing exercise, looking fit, how does that help when it comes to dating or when it comes to the relationship?
I think it definitely does affect, and it's both sides, right? Not just the husband, both, but I'm just talking because you're asking me from the woman's perspective. It does significantly for multiple reasons. In order to work out, there is a level of consistency that you're doing. And when you're consistent with one thing, you're more likely to be consistent with other things. So when someone is exercising regularly, whether it's 3 times a week or just doing something consistently, it is hard for them to be passive in life. It is hard for them to be passive. So that level of that activity is actually encouraging. It propels the family forward, right? So that it's not like one person is pulling a parked car, right? It's both parties. Well, hopefully both parties are moving to different extent. That's number one. Number two is if you're not doing something, it's hard for you to encourage me to do it. And many times at the end of the day, we all hope someone can encourage us, right? So if you're doing it, you're more likely to say, let's go do it together. Or when I'm not doing it as much, I'm seeing you as you're inspiring me by doing it, right? There's that. But also there is a part of like when you're physically active, it does increase your level of confidence. And confidence is attractive. Confidence is attractive. So the way you carry yourself is also different. And when you're feeling confident, it makes me think you have my back. It's like if you have like a, bodyguard with you that's like mess with her, versus like someone that's like, man, I cannot even lift myself. Latifat, you're on your own.
Go ahead.
That kind of stuff, right? And so definitely there are many, many reasons why physical activity is important. And of course, it doesn't have to be excessive. And then let's talk about the health issues too, right? One of the things that I think as couples, if you are thinking about each other, is what can I do to help me not be a burden for you? There are certain things we cannot control. There are sickness that may happen and all that. But if your poor eating habits, and this is if that's if, right? Correct. There are times when people can have health issues for other reasons, genetics and all that. Correct. But if you can't stop drinking alcohol, if you can't stop eating candy, and if that's the reason why you have heart disease, and now we cannot co-parent together, all that just becomes a burden to the other person, which affects not just them, it affects their mental health, it affects the children, it literally affects the potential of the family. And so am I doing my part to do my part? Am I doing my part to really be a partner in this relationship, or am I creating a scenario where I become a burden for our family?
Okay. And I was thinking, we spoke, so for example, you and I, we have a weekly, when we can, we try to, every Friday, we go out for lunch.
It's like
and I want to speak to that.
90% of the time, 90% of Fridays.
Right. So I just want to speak to that. For example, how does that help? Does the on the book, it's on the calendar, Is that something that you recommend? Or what about the once in a while surprise? Because I've heard instances where sometimes some women are like, I don't like surprises. It freaks me out. I cannot take it. Just put it on the calendar. End of story. So I just wanted to speak to that because I know, again, I don't want to be assuming.
Yeah, I think it's important to know your spouse. That's the most important thing. Know your spouse. If surprises gives them anxiety, come on, homie. Would you have done the surprise before y'all got married? Right? So let's like know your spouse,
Yeah.
and it's okay to ask your spouse. And what I found is many times when there's some people that just hate surprises.
Yeah.
But many times when people say they don't like surprises, it's like they don't like disappointments, right? So if you're going to do it, actually do it and do it well. Where it's like, surprise, we have a dinner date, but there's no childcare. And it's like,
You didn't think through.
you didn't think through it, right? Now it's not just like the fact that we're not going out. It's now like why can't you just get this right?
Okay.
Right? So ask for help, lean into community, right? You can literally hire someone to plan your date. If you have friends that are great at this, you can literally pay them to plan your date. It becomes a matter of like sometimes who, not how. And if you're really like, I don't have the capacity, I can't think right now. But to answer your question, though, the very elemental level is that the weekly, I actually do recommend weekly dates if possible, monthly dates at the very, very minimum. And part of it is to be able to touch base, especially the more busy your life is, meaning that if you have businesses, if you have children, you can literally coexist with your spouse and not be one together. So when the purpose of the Friday date for us is it's a time we sit down across from each other, we look at each other, we're not on the phone, and we're like, so how are you doing?
True.
We're not talking about the kids. So it's a time to check in. And I think that's like the barest minimum. And, even aside from that, we would do like, date night. I think there's something nice and romantic about date night as opposed to like, we do date days on Friday because then it's like automatic childcare, right? Because when our kids are in school, we don't have to think about childcare versus nighttime. So it's still nice. If you want to do like the dates, whatever your capacity is as a family, just anytime. It's not about being perfect. It's about being better than you were yesterday. So if you never go out on a date, having a date once a month is amazing. I actually do recommend that people find good childcare and just have them on the calendar. Literally, you can get someone that watches the kids and you can have them every second Wednesday.
You have them booked.
You have them booked. And you don't even need to have a plan. At least the most important part, which is childcare. As he's here, you can literally get in the car and drive, find a restaurant. But also, I like to make it interesting. So one of the things I like to do is on Shirley's birthdays, I like to plan something different, right? So, it may be like rope climbing, or we did like smash bottles, or you could do like laser tagging. Like, just how can we talk about the wealth and arms of wealth and how play is a part of arms of wealth. We don't have a good like amusement park close to us, but if we did, we would have done it even without the kids. Like, how can I bring in play? How can I bring in not just like fun, but play? Because maybe before you guys got married, you were playing, but now you've forgotten that play brings the heart together beyond the brain.
And that was the next question I wanted to ask you when it comes to the dating piece. Like, you have the restaurant, so the restaurant is like the default, and so my question is, like you said, play. Right, so it cannot just be just restaurants.
Play, play. You can do play, you can do fun, you can do silly, and you can literally put that on Google or ChatGPT. What are silly ideas of what people could do in the city, like couples can do? What are play ideas? Wine tasting, if that's your thing. We have friends that are huge Disney fans. Like, they would literally go to Disney without their kids.
And
they'll get babysitters. We've done we'll actually like our date trips where we can drop the kids off and then disappear, drive 2 hours away, and like it could be a massage, dinner, whatever, hiking. What do you like to do? Go do that and then come back and like come see the kids. So there's so much creativity that can go into this, but it's just back to the fundamental thing is, do you think your relationship is worth it? Are you willing to be inconvenienced to put the effort in, understanding that what you put in is what you're going to get out? If you don't put anything into your relationship, you get dry, crusty, dusty relationship, right? And again, ask for help.
Yeah.
Ask for help.
And I think so. Let me see if I can summarize. So number one, you've done this before. I've done this before. I'm speaking of to myself. I've done this before when we were dating. So it's not foreign. It's not far-fetched. Two, ask for help. If you need help, which as a man, raise your hand. We do need help. So ask for help, and help in maybe community, it may be family, maybe in the siblings. Like, okay, what does she like? What does she not like? Third thing is, put it on the calendar. If it's calendared, then you can actually have the babysitter also booked ahead of time. So that way, no matter how busy you are, you're like, okay, I have this with my wife, I'm going. Number four is, have fun. It doesn't have to be restaurants. It can be day trips. It can be something you as a guy like to do. And one thing I would say is this, that came to me as you were sharing, is sometimes it's not necessarily the activity. It's just the time spent together. So, so for example, you can actually take your wife to Top Golf.
Yep.
Like you can go, guys.
Watch a basketball game.
Yeah, watch a basketball game, and that may be something that you like. For example, I love soccer, right? So I can buy tickets and say, okay, there's a game coming up. Latifat and I, let's go watch it and get babysitter. Okay. Did I cover everything? I think
you did a great job. Was that helpful for you?
Yes, that's helpful. And I hope that's helpful for you too. So as the man, you've done this before, so don't act like you don't know what you're doing. And exercise, I forgot that.
Yes,
exercise maybe 2-3 times, look good, be confident, right? And that actually motivates, encourages your spouse as well. So.
And by the way, ladies, if this was helpful, go ahead and just text it to your husband. Just say, listen to this. It may help us.
Yes.
Right? But we're rooting for you guys. Like, we don't have to treat this part of our relationship like a PhD thesis, academic. No, y'all got this. If you did not get this, you would not have gotten married. Yeah. Unless it's an arranged marriage. But even with that, right? And so let's get started. And also, what you enjoy is not inferior to what I enjoy. And we can alternate. So maybe soccer isn't like, oh, yippee-dippee-doo. Yeah. But we get to hang out there together. We can go to soccer and maybe a restaurant that I like. Or next time it becomes something. So let's make this fun, guys. Let's bring some life into relationships.
Yeah. I hope that helps you. Fun, light, but very, actually
life-saving.
Loaded. I interviewed her from I'm not your husband, but I am. So hopefully that helps you. And let's go ahead. Let's make our marriages healthier, better, and let's keep at it, knowing that we've done this before, and we can only get better from here on in.
And I'll have to say, guys, I'm actually looking forward to our next date because I have a feeling that I saw the juice flowing. You're like, I think I got this. This.
She's prophesying.
All right, everybody. All right. God bless you.
All right. Catch you on the next episode.